The first thing I notice is the silence. Not just the usual kind, not the stillness of an empty room or the hush of a city at midnight. This silence is deeper, heavier. It has weight. I'm sitting in what used to be my apartment. The walls are cracked, stained with soot. The windows are taped over, but I can still see the faint, sickly glow outside, the kind of light that doesn't feel natural. The kind that seeps in no matter how many layers you put up to keep it out. The radio crackles. It's the first sound I've heard in hours. Maybe longer. I don't know anymore. At first, it's just static. But then something else. A voice, distorted. Words breaking apart like they're drowning in the transmission. Do not acknowledge, he smiles, gone. The radio dies again. I lean forward, adjusting the dial. Nothing. Just that same wall of static. I keep turning, twisting the knob in slow, deliberate increments, the way I used to back when the world still made sense. Still nothing. I sit back, fingers tapping against the armrest. It's not the first time I've caught something weird on the airwaves. Ever since the world ended, whatever that means, these signals have been coming through. Warnings. Scraps of conversations. Sometimes just breathing. I tell myself it's just interference. Old recordings bouncing off the atmosphere, maybe remnants of emergency broadcasts. But that doesn't explain why they always feel so current. A buzz cuts through the air, sharp and electric. The emergency alert system. I don't know how many of these I've heard since the sky went dark, but they never get easier. The television flickers on, even though I never touched it. The screen glows white for a second before the message appears in stark black text. Emergency alert system. This is a nationwide emergency broadcast. Do not acknowledge the smiling man. If you see him, do not speak. Do not respond. Do not look for too long. Seal your doors. Avoid windows. Wait for further instructions. The screen flickers again. The message repeats, scrolling like an old teleprompter. I grab a pen from the table, write it down. I don't know why. Maybe because I've learned that sometimes the power cuts out before you can read the whole thing. I stare at the words, mouthing them under my breath. Do not acknowledge the smiling man. Something cold slides down my spine. I look around the room, scanning the shadows. I already know I won't see anything, but it doesn't stop the feeling. I get up, cross to the window. My fingers hover near the edge of the tape, but I don't peel it back. Outside, the world is empty. That's what I tell myself. That's what it always is. But then why does it feel like something is standing just beyond the glass? I step away. The television screen dims, the message dissolving into static. The air hums, like a low electrical charge pulsing through the walls. Then the voice returns. This time it's clearer. A whisper threaded through the static, curling into my ears. Do not look at him. The radio clicks off. The television shuts down, and the silence comes back. I stand there, staring at the dark screen. My breathing is too loud. My heartbeat feels wrong, off rhythm, too slow. I take a step back. My heel scuffs against the floor. Then from somewhere outside, a soft sound. A laugh. It's distant, barely more than a breath. But it's there. It lingers in the air like smoke. I don't move. I don't breathe. The emergency alert system didn't say what would happen if you acknowledged him. I don't want to find out. I turn off the radio, pull a blanket over the television, take slow, careful steps back to my chair. I sit, close my eyes, count the seconds. The laughter fades, but the silence that replaces it feels even worse. Morning, if it's still called that. The sky hasn't changed. It never does. Just that dim, burnt orange glow, like the sun is stuck behind layers of dust and smoke. I pack light, just enough to keep me moving. A flashlight, a knife, a half-full bottle of water. I wrap a scarf around my mouth before stepping outside. The air smells like metal, like the inside of a burned-out car. The streets stretch out in every direction, empty. It wasn't always like this. When the sirens first started, people tried to run. I remember the lines of cars, headlights cutting through the ash, taillights disappearing into the distance. It didn't matter. No one got far. Now the cars sit abandoned. Some with their doors open, like the drivers stepped out for just a second and never came back. I move between them, keeping my steps light. No noise. No unnecessary attention. I pass by an old diner. The front window is cracked, streaked with something dark. I don't go inside. A block away, a bicycle lies on its side, half buried in dust. A child's backpack nearby, one strap torn. I don't touch it. I reach the old pharmacy. The doors are still open from the last time I came through. I step inside, feeling the crunch of glass under my boots. Shelves half looted. Empty pill bottles scattered across the floor. The air is stale, stagnant. I move to the back, searching for anything useful. Some canned food, a roll of bandages, a few water bottles shoved behind a collapsed shelf. As I gather supplies, something catches my eye. Footprints, fresh ones. I kneel down, tracing them with my fingers. The dust hasn't settled yet. Someone was just here. A sharp sound, metal shifting. I spin toward the noise, knife in hand. Nothing. Just the aisles stretching into darkness. I move carefully, peering around corners. My pulse is steady, but there's a tightness in my chest. Then I see it. Near the back of the store, past the broken refrigerators, a candle flickers in the darkness. Someone is here. I approach slowly, blade ready. A whisper, low, almost too faint to hear. Please don't let him see me. I freeze. The voice is coming from behind the counter. I crouch down, peering over the edge. A man, thin, hollow-eyed. He's curled against the wall, arms wrapped around himself. His clothes are torn, skin smudged with ash. He's shaking. I don't speak. Just watch. His breath is ragged, shallow. He's not looking at me. He's staring past me. At the front of the store. I turn slowly. Outside, across the street, a figure stands beneath the flickering streetlight. Motionless, grinning. He's too far away to see clearly, but something about the way he stands, too still, too rigid, makes my stomach drop. The man behind the counter grips my sleeve. His hand is ice cold. Don't move. I don't. We sit in silence, barely breathing. The figure doesn't move either. Just smiles. The streetlight hums. Flickers. Goes out. Darkness swallows everything. A breath catches in my throat. Seconds pass. The light sputters back on. The street is empty. I exhale, slow and controlled. My fingers are stiff around the knife handle. The man beside me shudders, whispering something under his breath. A prayer, maybe. Or a plea. I wait a few more seconds, then stand, motioning for him to follow. At first, he doesn't move. Just shakes his head. I can't. If I leave, he'll know I saw him. I don't argue. I don't have time. I take what I can carry and step outside. The street is empty, but the air feels wrong, like it's pressing down on me, thick and heavy. I walk fast, keeping my head down. From somewhere behind me, in the distance, a laugh. Soft, almost playful. I don't turn around. I keep walking, keep breathing, keep pretending the world is still normal. Even though I know it's not. I don't go straight home. I take the long way, cutting through side streets, slipping between rusted fences, moving like I used to when I still had a reason to be cautious. I don't know if it helps. I don't know if it matters. But I do it anyway. The wind kicks up dust, swirling it into the air. My scarf filters most of it, but I can still taste the grit in my mouth. The laughter is gone now. The silence has returned, but it feels heavier than before, like the air is holding its breath, waiting. I don't stop moving. I pass a row of houses, their windows dark, their doors either locked or hanging open. They all look the same now, just empty husks. Places that used to be homes. One of the mailboxes is stuffed full, letters yellowed and curling at the edges. I glance at the name on the side. Read. I don't know them. Probably never will. I step over a toppled trash can, my foot crunching on something brittle. A photo. A family. A man, a woman, a little boy caught mid-laugh. The edges of the picture are burned. The faces are smudged. I keep walking. Up ahead, I see it, the old gas station. The windows are boarded up. The sign out front is cracked, only a few letters still clinging to it. Sunoco. The last O dangles, swaying slightly in the dead air. I've been here before. It's been picked clean, at least that's what I thought. But someone was in the pharmacy. Someone left footprints. Maybe they came here too. I push open the door. The bell above it jingles weakly before falling silent. The smell of stale fuel and dust lingers in the air. Rows of empty shelves stretch into the dim light. A few old candy wrappers on the floor. A half-empty water bottle on the counter. Someone was here. I step forward. The floor creaks. A whisper, so quiet I almost don't hear it. Close the door. I freeze. The voice is low, hoarse, coming from the far corner of the store. I don't move. Close the door, the voice repeats, barely above a breath. Slowly, I step back and push the door shut. The latch clicks into place. Silence. Then a shuffle. A figure moves from the shadows. An old man hunched, wrapped in a tattered coat. His eyes are sunken, face drawn. He looks like he hasn't slept in weeks. He doesn't speak right away, just studies me. His breathing is uneven, shaky. Finally, he licks his cracked lips and whispers, "Did you see him?" I don't answer. His eyes darken. "You did." I don't know what to say. The man moves closer, gaze darting to the boarded-up windows. He gestures for me to follow. Behind the counter, there's a small door, a storage room. He pushes it open and steps inside. I hesitate. Then I follow. The room is cramped, filled with old boxes and empty shelves. A cot in the corner. A single candle flickers on an overturned crate. The old man sits, rubbing his hands together like he's trying to warm them. But he's sweating. "I heard the alert," he mutters. I didn't believe it. Thought it was more fear-mongering. They always did that, you know. Back before. His voice trails off. I say nothing. He exhales sharply, looking down at his hands. Then I saw him. The words send a chill through me. He glances up, eyes glassy. I was in my house. Power was out, but I had candles. I was sitting at the kitchen table. And then, his fingers tighten against his palms. I notice the window. A pause. "The reflection," he whispers. That was the first thing I saw. My own reflection, and then his, standing behind me, smiling. The candle flickers. The old man swallows hard. I didn't turn around. I just sat there, staring. I don't know how long. His breathing is shallow now, coming faster. And then he started laughing. The room feels colder. The old man grips his knees, rocking slightly. It wasn't normal. It wasn't right. Like he was waiting for me to crack, to slip up. I shift my weight. The floor creaks. The man's eyes snap to mine. I ran, he says, voice brittle. Didn't pack. Didn't think. Just ran. He looks away. But my wife, his throat works. He shakes his head. She called out to me. I feel my stomach tighten. She said my name. His voice is barely a whisper. And that was it. Silence stretches between us. What happened to her? I ask. The old man exhales, shaking his head. I don't know. He looks up at me. She was gone. The way he says it makes my skin crawl. He rubs his hands together again, staring at the candle. He doesn't talk, he mutters. Not at first. But if you acknowledge him, if you speak to him, his breath hitches. He smiles wider. I don't realize I'm gripping my knife until my knuckles ache. The man's eyes flick to the door. His voice drops even lower. He follows. A sound outside. Soft. Familiar. Laughter. My pulse spikes. The old man goes rigid. Don't move, he breathes. The laughter doesn't fade. It lingers. Near the door. Waiting. I keep my breathing slow, even as my heart slams against my ribs. The candlelight trembles. A shadow passes under the door. Then, silence. Long, deep. Suffocating. I don't move. The old man doesn't move. Minutes pass. Then, from just beyond the door, a whisper. I see you. We don't move. The whisper hangs in the air, stretching into silence. I count the seconds in my head. 1, 2, 3. My fingers tighten around the knife handle, slick with sweat. The old man is barely breathing. His eyes flick to the door. Then, the doorknob twitches. Not a full turn, just a slight movement, a fraction of an inch, like someone's testing it. I fight the urge to back away. The candle between us flickers. The flame leans toward the door, drawn by an unseen pull. The air feels heavier, thicker. The old man's lips move soundlessly, maybe praying, maybe pleading. Then, from outside, a knock. Soft, rhythmic. 3 precise taps. I don't answer. Neither does the old man. The knock comes again. The same rhythm. Measured. Patient. Still, we don't respond. The silence that follows is worse. I don't know how long we sit there, listening. My pulse is slow, sluggish, like my body is shutting down, conserving energy. My ears strain for any sound, footsteps, breathing, another whisper. Nothing. Maybe he's gone. I glance at the old man. His eyes are locked on the door, his mouth pressed into a thin line. I shift my weight, the floor creaking beneath me. The old man flinches. The candle sputters. And then, a laugh. Not from outside. From inside the room. Right behind me. I spin, knife up. Nothing. Just the storage shelves stacked with old supplies. Shadows dance along the walls, shifting with the candlelight. I swallow hard. My heartbeat slams against my ribs, demanding movement, demanding escape. The old man is shaking his head, his breath coming in short gasps. He's inside, he whispers. I don't want to believe it, But I feel it, the wrongness in the air, the pressure in my skull, pressing against the inside of my forehead. We need to leave. Now. I motion to the old man. He hesitates, then nods. Slowly we stand. The candle flickers wildly, the flames stretching tall, bending towards something unseen. The old man takes a slow step toward the door. The boards along the window creak, but nothing else moves. I reach for the doorknob. A voice, right behind my ear. Don't go. Ice stabs through my spine. The old man stiffens, his breath catching in his throat. I don't turn around. I tighten my grip on the knife, swallowing down the rising nausea. Then, a cold hand brushes the back of my neck. I lunge forward, yanking the door open. The old man stumbles after me, and we spill out into the gas station. The air feels normal again. Thin, breathable. Behind us, the storage door slams shut. We don't look back. The old man grips my arm, his fingers digging in. Run. I don't argue. We bolt for the exit, shoving past empty shelves and scattered debris. The glass door is still shut, but through the grime, I see movement outside. Figures. Standing. Watching. Not moving. Their faces are blurred by the dirty glass, but I don't need to see them clearly to know. They're smiling. The old man curses under his breath. His hands are shaking as he fumbles with the lock. I glance over my shoulder. The storage room door is still closed, but the handle is turning. Click, click, click. The old man gets the door open, and we stumble outside. The air is thick with dust, the sky still choked in that unnatural glow. The figures don't react. They just stand there, lining the street, smiles stretched too wide, their eyes fixed on us. I try not to look too long. The old man grips my wrist. This way. We move fast, keeping low, cutting across the empty parking lot. I don't check if the figures follow. I don't listen for footsteps. I just run. The city looms ahead, broken buildings jutting against the sickly sky. The old man leads me down a narrow alley, between rusted dumpsters and crumbling brick walls. We stop, catch our breath. The old man presses his hands to his knees, wheezing. They shouldn't, he swallows hard. They shouldn't be out this early. I wipe sweat from my forehead. What do you mean? He shakes his head. They come at night. That's how it's always been. The words settle in my gut like a stone. The rules are changing. I glance back the way we came. The gas station is just a shadow now, distant, empty. The figures are gone. The street is quiet, but I know better than to trust the silence. The old man looks at me, his face pale. This isn't going to stop. I already know that, but I don't say it out loud. Instead, I check the road ahead. The city stretches beyond us, empty and waiting. We need to find shelter, somewhere safe. If such a place even exists anymore. The city is dead. The streets stretch ahead, cracked and empty. Cars sit abandoned, their windows coated in layers of dust. Streetlights lean at odd angles, their bulbs shattered. Signs flicker weakly, their letters half burned out. I've never seen it this quiet. The old man walks ahead of me, his steps slow, deliberate. He keeps glancing over his shoulder, eyes scanning every alley, every doorway. He knows something I don't. We don't talk. We don't stop. The silence presses down on us. Then, a sound. Faint, distant. A rhythmic click, click, click. We both freeze. The old man grabs my arm, his grip like iron. He doesn't say anything, just shakes his head. We keep moving. The sound follows. Click, click, click. It's not footsteps. It's something else. Something wrong. We take a sharp turn down an alley, stepping over broken glass and discarded clothes. The smell of rot lingers in the air, thick and sour. The alley opens onto another street. More abandoned buildings. More silence. No movement. No signs of life. The old man exhales shakily. We need to find shelter. I nod. Where? He hesitates, then points to a building down the block, a hotel. It's old, the kind of place that was cheap even before everything fell apart. The sign out front reads vacancy in flickering red letters. A few windows on the upper floors are broken. The front doors are slightly ajar. It doesn't look safe, but nowhere is. We move fast, crossing the street in long, careful strides. Every step feels too loud. We reach the entrance. The old man pushes the door open. The lobby is dark, dusty. A few overturned chairs, an old reception desk. A set of stairs leading up into the shadows. We step inside. The door creaks shut behind us. The air feels colder. The old man moves first, heading for the stairs. Higher up is better. More exits. I follow. The steps groan under our weight, each one sending echoes into the empty halls above. Second floor. Third. We stop outside a room with the door slightly open. The old man hesitates, then pushes it wider. The room is small, just a bed, a desk, and a window with heavy curtains. The air smells stale, but there's no sign of anyone else. He locks the door behind us. I move to the window, peeling back the curtain just enough to see outside. The street below is empty. For now. I let the curtain fall back into place. The old man sits on the bed, rubbing his hands together. "They're getting bolder," he mutters. I don't ask who they are. I already know. I sit on the floor, pressing my back against the wall. My legs ache. My throat is dry. Minutes pass. Neither of us speak. Then, a sound. Not outside. Inside. A door opening somewhere down the hall. Slow. Deliberate. The old man's eyes snap to mine. We don't move. A floorboard creaks. Then, that sound again. Click, click, click. Not footsteps. Something else. Something sharp. I grip my knife, forcing myself to breathe slow and quiet. The old man reaches into his coat, pulling out a rusted revolver. A shadow passes under the door. Long stretched. Wrong. I don't move. The old man doesn't move. The shadow lingers. The air feels thick. My ears are ringing. Then, the door handle turns. Not fast. Not forceful. Just testing. Click. 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 I tighten my grip on the knife. My stomach knots. The handle stops moving. Silence. A long pause. Then, the laugh. Low. Soft. Right outside the door. My fingers go numb. The old man raises the revolver, pointing it at the door, his hands trembling. The laugh doesn't stop. It stretches out, slow and drawn, like whoever is out there is savoring this. The sound scrapes against my nerves. It's not normal. It's not human. The old man grips the gun tighter. The laughter fades. Silence. Then, a whisper. I see you. The light in the room flickers. The air drops, freezing. My breath curls in front of me. The old man's grip on the gun tightens. His knuckles go white. We don't move. We don't breathe. The whisper lingers, seeping into the walls, into my skin. Then, footsteps. Moving away. Slow. Measured. Fading into the hall. The light steadies. The warmth returns. The old man lowers the gun, exhaling shakily. His hands are still shaking. I swallow, my throat dry. It's not leaving. He nods. It never does. A pause. Then he looks at me. His eyes dark, tired. There's no running from this. I don't argue, because I already know he's right. We're trapped. And sooner or later, the smiling man will be back. We don't sleep. The old man sits on the bed, his back against the headboard, revolver still clenched in his hands. His breathing is slow, controlled, but his eyes don't close. I stay by the window, watching the street through a gap in the curtains. The neon vacancy sign still flickers below, throwing red light across the sidewalk. Empty, but not safe. The smiling man is still here, somewhere, watching, waiting. The air in the room feels too still, like the walls are holding their breath. The old man breaks the silence. You don't ask many questions. I glance at him. His face is lined, weathered, like someone who's been running for a long, long time. There's no point, I say. He exhales sharply, almost a laugh. Smart. I turn back to the window. The city stretches out beyond the glass, hollow and waiting. A flicker of movement. My stomach tightens. At first, I think it's just a trick of the light. The glow from the broken street lamps playing tricks on my tired eyes. But then I see them. Not one. Not two. A dozen. Standing along the sidewalks, at the edges of alleyways, in the doorways of darkened buildings. Smiling. Their faces are wrong, too smooth, too pale, grins stretching too wide. Their eyes are empty. I count them in my head. 12. No, 13. The old man sees them too. His breath catches. That's not right. My pulse pounds. What do you mean? His fingers tighten around the revolver. There's only supposed to be one. The words settle into my stomach like lead. I don't respond. We watch in silence. The figures don't move. They don't blink. They just stand there. The old man exhales slowly. The rules are changing. He doesn't sound surprised. Just tired. Outside, the figures remain still. But I can feel it, the anticipation. Like they're waiting for something. Or someone. The old man pushes himself off the bed, his joints creaking. We can't stay here. I don't argue. We gather what little we have, his gun, my knife, a half-empty bottle of water from the nightstand. The hotel hallway is dark. The flickering emergency lights cast long, shifting shadows across the peeling wallpaper. Every step feels too loud. We move quickly, keeping to the walls, passing empty doorways. The whole floor feels abandoned. But I know better. We reach the stairwell. The old man hesitates. Elevators are dead. We take the stairs. I nod. He grips the railing and starts down. I follow, every muscle in my body tensed. The stairwell is silent. No distant footsteps. No laughter. But the air feels heavy, like something is waiting. We reach the second floor landing. The exit door is slightly ajar, leading to another hallway. The old man slows, peering through the gap. Then he stops, goes rigid. I move beside him, look through the crack in the door. A figure stands in the hallway, tall, motionless, facing away from us. Its back is smooth, featureless, skin stretched too tight over its frame. And it's smiling, not with a mouth, but with a grin carved into its spine. I swallow hard. My hands clench into fists. The old man leans close, his voice barely a breath. We keep moving. We don't go through the door. We keep descending. First floor. The air gets colder. Something is off. The front lobby is in view now, just past the last flight of stairs. The dim glow of the neon sign outside spills through the glass doors, bathing the room in a sickly red hue. I don't see anything moving, but I feel it. The old man exhales slowly. We go fast. We step into the lobby. The silence is too thick. The figures outside haven't moved. The front doors are slightly open. We push forward, past the reception desk, toward the exit. My pulse hammers against my ribs. I can already feel the cold night air beyond the doors, can already taste the dust in my throat. Then, a sound. Soft. Familiar. Laughter. Not outside. Inside. Behind us. We stop. The old man grips the revolver, his shoulders tense. I tighten my grip on the knife. The laughter is slow, drawn out. Then, going somewhere? The voice is right behind me. I spin. Nothing. Just empty space. The laughter doesn't stop. It's everywhere now, spilling from the walls, the ceiling, the floors. The old man curses under his breath. Move. We bolt for the doors. The moment we pass through, everything shifts. The neon sign blinks out. The buildings around us stretch taller, their windows yawning black. The streetlights flicker, twisting like melting wax. The sky overhead shatters, the clouds breaking apart into swirling fragments of darkness. I stumble back. The old man grabs my arm, his face pale. The figures lining the street are gone. But we're not alone. The road ahead stretches endlessly, longer than it should. Buildings loom on either side, bending inward. And in the distance, a shape. Tall, thin, smiling. The old man exhales shakily. He's not letting us go. The thing in the distance doesn't move, but its grin widens. I don't speak. I don't breathe, because I already know the truth. We were never meant to escape. The game has already started, and the smiling man is waiting. The road stretches too far. It shouldn't. I know these streets. I grew up in this city, but now the buildings are too tall, leaning in at impossible angles. The sidewalks stretch endlessly, warping into something unfamiliar. The old man grips my wrist, his fingers tight, shaking. This isn't real. His voice is hollow. I don't respond, because I know what he means. The smiling man is still ahead, waiting, watching. His silhouette is too sharp against the fractured sky. The longer I stare, the more wrong it becomes. His arms a little too long, his posture unnaturally straight, his head tilting slightly as if listening to something I can't hear. We need to move. The old man pulls me toward a side street, a narrow alley lined with crumbling brick. The buildings here don't lean, they loom, pressing in close, swallowing the sky. We slip into the darkness. Behind us, the street remains empty. No figures, no sound, but the silence is worse. The alley smells like dust and old water. Piles of debris line the walls, discarded clothes, broken furniture, things people left behind when the world turned wrong. The old man keeps moving, his steps slow, careful. He's playing with us. I don't ask how he knows. We reach the end of the alley, where the street should be. But it's not. Just another alley. Another stretch of crumbling brick, identical to the one we just walked through. The air shifts. Colder. I exhale, watching my breath curl in the dim light. We went in a straight line, I say. The old man nods. His face is pale, lips pressed tight. Doesn't matter. We keep walking. Another alley. Another turn. The buildings stretch taller, their windows empty and black. The ground beneath my feet feels off, too solid, too smooth. Then, the laughter. Soft. Close. The old man grabs my arm, pulling me into a doorway. He presses his back against the wall, gun raised. His breath comes fast and shallow. I grip the knife tighter. My fingers are numb. The laughter fades. The silence returns. We wait. Minutes pass. Maybe longer. Then, footsteps. Slow. Measured. They don't echo. The old man meets my eyes. His grip on the revolver tightens. The footsteps stop. A voice. You're going the wrong way. I don't look. The old man doesn't either. We stand there frozen as the air presses down on us. A pause. Then, a hand touches my shoulder. Cold. Thin. I move. I don't think. I just run. The old man is right behind me, his breath ragged. The alley twists ahead, turning in ways it shouldn't. I don't stop. I don't check if we're being followed. I already know the answer. We break into a wider street. The sky overhead is wrong, the stars too bright, too sharp. The moon is split into jagged pieces, suspended like shattered glass. I stop. The city is gone. Just an empty road now, stretching into blackness. The old man stares. No. He turns, looking back the way we came. There is no way back. The alley is gone. Just an empty expanse of road, fading into the dark. I swallow hard. My chest rises and falls too fast. The smiling man is nowhere in sight. But he doesn't have to be. He's already won. The old man clenches his jaw, his knuckles white around the revolver. This isn't real, he mutters again, more to himself than to me. The words feel small here. Weak. I scan the road ahead. There's something in the distance, a building maybe. A single light glows in one of the windows, faint and flickering. I don't trust it, but I don't see another choice. I nod toward it. We go there. The old man hesitates, but he doesn't argue. We walk. The road is smooth beneath my boots, too smooth like polished stone. The sky above doesn't change. No clouds, no wind. The air is thick, unmoving. The building grows closer. Not a house, not a store. Something in between. Its windows are dark except for the one with the flickering light. The front door is slightly open. We step inside. Dust coats the floor, thick and undisturbed. A single chair sits in the center of the room. And on the chair, a radio. Old. Rusted. The dial twitches on its own, shifting between static and silence. The old man exhales slowly. I don't like this. Neither do I. The radio crackles. Then, a voice. Familiar. Distorted. You shouldn't have come here. The old man steps back. His hands shake. I swallow. My throat is tight. Who are you? The radio hisses. The voice is mine. You already know. The lights flicker. A shadow shifts in the corner of the room. Tall. Thin. Smiling. The air turns cold. The radio crackles one last time. It's too late now. The light above us blinks out. And the room is swallowed by darkness. Darkness. Thick, heavy, absolute. I don't breathe. I don't move. The old man is beside me, but I can't see him. Only feel the faint, rapid rise and fall of his breath. The silence is too deep, pressing against my ears like I've been dropped into some endless void. Then, a whisper. Not from the radio. Not from the old man. From everywhere. You were never alone. A sharp, cold pressure against my wrist. Fingers. I yank my arm away. My heartbeat slams against my ribs. Footsteps. Not mine. Not his. Slow, deliberate. Circling. The old man's breath shudders. A click, his revolver, shaking in his grip. I grip the knife tighter, my fingers numb. Then, the light flickers back. Dim, flickering. Unsteady. The room is the same. Dust on the floor. The old radio still sitting on the chair. But something's wrong. I don't notice at first. Then my eyes adjust. And I see them. Footprints. All around us. Not ours. Pressed deep into the dust, forming a slow, spiraling path around where we stand. They were here. Standing. Watching. I turn to the old man. His face is pale, his hands still gripping the gun too tight. He doesn't look at me. He's looking past me. His lips part, but no words come out. Just a slow, shaky breath. I don't turn around. I don't have to. I can feel it. Something standing behind me. Close. I hear the stretch of a grin curling wider. A whisper right against my ear. You see me now. I move. Instinct. Terror. I don't know. I lunge forward, knife raised, pushing past the old man. My boots skid against the floor, kicking up dust. The old man moves with me, stumbling but keeping up. We don't look back. The front door slams shut behind us. The road stretches ahead, still impossibly long, still leading into nothing. But I don't care. I just run. The air around us shifts, warps. The buildings on either side twist, bending inward. The road beneath my feet feels less solid. The weight of the world shifts like we're running through something that isn't entirely real. Then, laughter. From above. I make the mistake of looking up. The sky is wrong. Not empty. Not shattered. Full. Of them. Smiling faces pressed against the darkness, stretched and pale, grinning mouths twisting wider and wider. Hundreds. Thousands. Watching. Waiting. The old man yells something, but I don't hear it over the static filling my ears. Then, a hand grabs my ankle. Cold. Thin. I hit the ground hard, the knife slipping from my grip. My vision spins. The old man skids to a stop, turning. I scramble, kicking, struggling, but the hand tightens, pulling. Not down. Not up. Sideways. Like the world itself is splitting, and something is dragging me into the space between. The old man lunges, grabbing my wrist. His grip is strong, desperate. For a second, everything holds. Then, the whisper. You can't leave. The grip on my ankle wrenches harder. The old man grits his teeth, pulling back, veins bulging in his arms. For a moment, I think he'll let go. But he doesn't. He pulls. Hard. The grip on my ankle loosens just enough, just for a second. I kick, twisting free. The force of it sends both of us sprawling back onto the warped road. The second I'm free, the gap where I was being pulled closes. Like it was never there. The road is whole. Solid. But I know better. The old man pants, staring at me, sweat dripping down his face. We need to end this. I don't ask how. I don't know if there is a way. I just nod. We push forward. The road changes. The buildings around us shrink. The sky above warps again, the faces disappearing. And ahead, a doorway, freestanding, alone. A single, wooden door in the middle of the empty street. No walls, no frame, just a door, waiting. The old man exhales, his hands shaking. Last chance, he mutters. I stare at the door. Something about it feels final. Like if we go through, there's no turning back. But I already know, there's no way back anyway. I step forward. The old man follows. We reach the door. I don't hesitate. I grip the handle, turn it, and step through. Everything shifts. I blink. The sky is normal. Dark but normal. The city stretches around me, whole and untouched. No impossible roads. No warped buildings. Just home. I turn. The old man is gone. The door is gone. Nothing but an empty street behind me. I exhale. The silence is deep. Too deep. I look around. The streets are empty. No people. No cars. No sound. Just silence. And then, a reflection. In the window of the building beside me. A figure standing behind me. Tall. Thin. Smiling. I don't turn. I don't move. I just stare at the glass, at the grin that stretches too wide, the eyes that don't blink. The smiling man never left. I never escaped. I never could. His voice slips into my ear. I told you. The city is silent. And I finally understand. I was never meant to leave. Because I was never alone. Not then. Not now. Not ever. I don't turn around. I can't. The smiling man stands behind me, his reflection sharp in the glass. Too clear. Too real. He isn't a shadow. He isn't a trick. He's there. And he's waiting. The silence is suffocating. No wind. No distant cars. Not even my own breath. I force myself to move. A step forward. Then another. The reflection doesn't move. He just smiles. I keep walking. The city around me looks normal. Almost. But the streets are too empty. The windows too dark. Every sign of life erased. I pass an intersection. I know this place. I grew up here. But something's wrong. The street ahead stretches farther than it should. Buildings repeat, their shapes familiar but off. Like a copied image, slightly distorted. A wrongness I can't put into words. I turn a corner. And stop. The same street. The same buildings. The same intersection. I just walked through here. The smiling man is still in the glass. I exhale slow and controlled. My hands clench into fists. This isn't real. I know it isn't real. But my body doesn't care. I move again. Faster. Past the buildings. Past the empty windows. The reflection follows. Not moving, but there. No matter where I go. I take another turn. Another. Again. The same street. The same buildings. The same intersection. A loop. Trapping me inside itself. A quiet, sinking feeling settles in my chest. This city isn't mine anymore. It belongs to him. I stop running. The realization weighs on me, sinking into my bones. There's no escape. The old man knew. That's why he never looked hopeful. Never made promises. I think about him now. Where did he go? Did he make it out? Or was he just another part of this? Another thing that was never real. The thought sticks in my skull, cold and solid. But then, the static. Faint. Almost too quiet to hear. A distant hum, growing stronger. I follow the sound. My feet move on their own, pulled forward by some unseen force. I walk for too long. Minutes stretch. Hours. The city never changes. Then, a door. Not a freestanding one this time. This one is set into a building I don't recognize. It looks ordinary. Worn wood, a tarnished brass handle. But the static hums from behind it, waiting. I don't hesitate. I open it and step inside. A small room. Dim. Empty except for an old television, its screen flickering with gray static. A chair sits in front of it. Someone is sitting there. A figure slouched forward, their back to me. I take a slow step forward. The screen shifts. The static clears. And I see myself, on the screen, standing in the doorway. The figure in the chair lifts their head. Slowly. I don't want them to turn. I don't want to see. But they do. And it's me. Not a reflection. Not a copy. Me. Same face. Same eyes. Same fear. They smile. And I finally understand. There was never a way out. Because I never left. I've been here all along. Watching. Waiting. I take a step back, but the door behind me is gone. The other me tilts their head. Their smile doesn't falter. The television flickers again. The screen shows a city. Dark. Empty. The streets stretch too far. The buildings lean inward. The sky is shattered, full of eyes. And in the center, a lone figure. Standing. Still. Looking up. I step closer, my breath shallow. The figure on the screen turns its head. Slowly. Until it's staring right at me. It's not me. Not the other me in the chair. Someone else. Someone trapped. Just like I was. A sinking horror crawls up my throat. Because I know what this means. The cycle is starting again. And this time, I am the one watching. I turn back to the chair. It's empty. The old television hums softly, its glow flickering. I exhale. Something inside me shifts. Not fear. Not confusion. Acceptance. The door behind me is back. I know what happens next. I step forward, grip the handle, and open it. A street. A city. Silent. Familiar. But not mine. Not anymore. I stand there, breathing in the stillness. I turn my head and see the window beside me. A reflection. Tall. Thin. Smiling. Waiting. I don't move. I just watch. Because now, I understand. I don't move. I don't blink. I just stare at the window. At the reflection staring back. Tall. Thin. Smiling. I know what happens next. But knowing doesn't change anything. The silence is heavy. Not just an absence of sound, but something deeper. Like the world itself is holding its breath. Waiting. I reach up. So does the reflection. But not at the same time. Just a fraction of a second too slow. Like it's pretending to be me. Like it's learning. I lower my hand. It follows. The smile never fades. I exhale long and steady. This city isn't mine anymore. I knew that the moment I stepped through the door, the realization settles into my bones. I lost. Or maybe I never had a chance to begin with. I turn away from the window. The street stretches ahead. It looks normal. Almost. The buildings are still, their windows black and empty. No lights. No movement. No people. But something feels different now. Like I'm not just walking through the city. Like the city is watching me. I keep moving. The pavement is too smooth beneath my boots. The air is too still, too heavy. My own breath feels distant, like it belongs to someone else. Then, A sound. Soft. Familiar. A whisper. Help me. I stop. The voice is close. I turn my head. A window cracked and dirty. Inside. A figure. Standing in the dark. I can't see their face. Only their silhouette, barely visible against the deeper blackness of the room behind them. But I recognize the shape of them. The way they stand. The way their head tilts slightly. The way their breath fogs against the glass. They look like me. They sound like me. Please. My stomach tightens. Because I know this moment. I remember this moment. I was on the other side once. Begging. Pleading. But no one ever helped me. No one ever could. I step back. The figure in the window doesn't move. They just stand there. Waiting. Like I was. Like I am. My breath is shallow. I know what this means. I know what I've become. The city isn't mine. But I am part of it now. And I always will be. The streets stretch on. But I don't walk them like before. I don't search for an exit. I don't try to escape. Because I understand now. There is no way out. There never was. There never will be. All roads lead back here. All turns are the same. And the cycle always continues. Somewhere, someone else is walking these streets. Lost. Afraid. Looking for a way out. Looking for me. And when they see me, standing in a window smiling, they won't understand. Not yet. But they will. They always do. The city is silent. The night stretches on, endless and still. And somewhere in the dark, the smiling man waits. And he smiles. Forever.